earlier. I work within the special services team within the priesthood and family department at the church office building. So I'm going to kind of go through and let you know who we are, what we do, why you should care, and I want to hear from you guys also at the end to answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to leave time for that at the end. So honestly, it's a real honor for me to be here, and I attended a couple of classes Thursday, and it was so fun and to hear from everybody. So thank you to Emily for inviting us to be here tonight. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we are a small team within the priesthood and family department. There's two of us, and myself and our manager, who is Katie Speed. Katie was a professor at BYU for almost 20 years doing special education and disability work. And so she started less than a year ago. I have a bachelor's degree in social work. Prior to coming to the church office building to work and to do this work, I worked at the Disability Law Center and did disability discrimination law. And before that, I worked with people with disabilities being able to live in community settings. So that's kind of our background of who we are. The priesthood and family department is one of the departments that produces all of the curriculum for the church. So come follow me, all the youth programs. They also produce the scriptures, they produce the hymns, so hymns and general conference and the magazines all come from our department. So Katie and I are a very small team in a very large department. Prior to this past year, our team of two handled about 8 different topics. So we handled disability, deaf support, preventing suicide, correctional work, and a couple more. And so I am so excited that they have split our teams, and so now we can just focus on deaf support and disability work. So very excited about that. So that's kind of a little overview of who we are. We also help work with other teams to help get materials that the church produces in different accessible formats. So Braille, ASL, audio, all of that. So we don't make it, our team doesn't make the products, but we work with other teams to make theirs more accessible. Okay, our vision for our team and for the work that we do is to support individuals with disabilities in their desire to belong, contribute, and progress as a son or daughter of God. So that's the overview of what we keep in mind on any project that we do, any person that we talk to, and any teaching or education piece that we do, is that our goal is to help bring people closer to Christ. And whether that's through getting them accessible materials or helping facilitate a better relationship between their leaders and them, or helping leaders know how to best help somebody who has a disability or other need, we keep that in mind. So. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple of different areas of what we do pretty briefly, just to kind of give you an overview. One of the things that I do is probably one of my main roles is to respond to disability-related questions and concerns, and also accessibility concerns as well. So we get calls and emails from all over the world. For members with disabilities, we get calls from parents of children with disabilities. We get a lot of calls from local leaders, so bishops, state presidents, primary presidents. I get a lot of calls from that. Just 2 days ago, I got a call from a state president in Canada who has 2 members in his work who are deaf and wanted to know what he could do to better support them and get them access to different materials. So the calls come from everywhere, the emails come from all over. We also work with auxiliary leaders, so we go in and we meet with the general primary presidency, the general Sunday school presidency, and pass on feedback about the needs of people with disabilities and the needs for accessible formats. So that's one of the fun things about my job that I love to do. I love my job in general, but that has been really fun to get to work with them. And we also work with general authorities who, when they're traveling, will have questions about situations, or people will come to them and talk to them about their story. And so if it's disability related or accessible format related, they contact our office and we usually handle it from there. So the other thing we do and we work on is help facilitate increased participation and inclusion of church members with disabilities. So we help identify needs of members with disabilities and their families, and we provide that information to church leaders. And I'll talk a little bit about how we've been doing that later. We help create resources, supports, and messaging for church members on inclusion and accessibility. So we just launched a new video. It's available in ASL. Like anything on the churchofjesuschrist.org, it's kind of complicated to find it. Everything is hard to find, so they're working on that. I can give you a direct link to it, but it's a video talking about how we can help members of all faiths and of all abilities be able to access their worship services. And so, like I said, it is available in ASL, and I'm not sure how I can tell you to get to it, because it is, we'll worry about that later. So, but we also help advocate for accessibility and inclusive design. So, like I said, we don't produce any of the materials, but we do work with teams to try and get them to understand the needs of people who need accessible formats. So whether it's Braille or audio, large print, ASL, what we do is we go and work with them to try and make that happen. So, and it is both rewarding and frustrating at the same time. And one scripture that kept coming to mind as I was working on this is found in Alma 37:6-7. And it talks about, by small and simple things, great things are accomplished. So I've been working for the church for 5 years now. And sometimes it feels like we just make little small baby steps, and it gets kind of frustrating. Because, we hear from members all the time, why can't this happen, or why can't this happen, or why can't this happen? And so it's hard to see sometimes all the things that we are doing. And I think that's one reason why Emily had asked me to come here today, is talk about some of the things that we are doing that may seem really small and insignificant, are big, major. They're no longer stepping stones, they're like huge boulders that we've moved out of the way. So, and there's lots of boulders and lots of stepping stones to go to make sure that the gospel and church materials are accessible to all. So I'm just going to focus on deaf support services right now and kind of give you, that was a bigger overview of our team of 2, but now deaf support services and what we've been working on. One of the exciting things that I've seen happen since I've been here is that our team was able to initiate meetings with other departments, so missionary, temple, publishing, I'm trying to think. Yeah, those are the main departments that we've been working with to start a conversation about accessibility. And so for the past year, we've been meeting once a week, every week, bringing up concerns. So anytime I hear from somebody who is deaf or somebody who is blind, I compile all that information and I bring it right to that committee. And from that work and from hearing from all of you, we've been able to make a huge change that doesn't seem that huge, but it is really big. And that is one of the things that we've worked on is to make sure that closed captioning is standard on all videos that the church produces. So that started in spring, moving forward. So if there is a video and it doesn't have captions on it, at the end I'll put up a slide with my contact information. Just email me and then I will email the producer of that video and say, hey, did you forget about closed captions? So that's pretty exciting. Let's see. We will be working, and we have been working to some of the older videos to bring them up to captioning. So we're working with Come Follow Me team to get all the videos there captioned. So you can play them in the Bible video website with captions. You just can't click the button and play from there. It's very frustrating, and so we're working with them. We also have a deaf advisory group that meets quarterly, and so that's how I actually met Emily and Doug and a couple of other people. And so we brought together a group of members who are deaf and said, hey, tell us kind of what are some of the concerns, complaints, the feedback, the good things going on, so we can pass that on. And it has been such a wonderful opportunity for us. And when I get a call that I don't know how to answer, or if I get an email that I don't know what to do with, I shoot it out to our advisory team and say, hey, do you guys have any suggestions on how to help this member who is deaf access this thing? And so it's been an awesome opportunity. And that's brand new this year. The other thing we have done is we have a quarterly meeting with the auxiliary. So every quarter I meet with the primary presidency. Every quarter we meet with young men's, young women's. And we bring up your feedback. We bring up your needs to them and let them know kind of what's going on. So some of the good things, some of the hard things. And that, again, has been really exciting to work with. So in the 5 years I've been here, just this year, we've been able to focus on doing just deaf support and disability, and it has been amazing. And so progress is slow, but it is sure and it is steady, and we're continuing on that. As you all probably know, the church's website underwent a bunch of changes and updates, and it seems like they are constantly updating the website, which is frustrating for you, I'm sure, and for, I usually Google search something to find out on the church website, and I work for the church, if that makes sense. And so we are working, what happened was the ASL, old page got changed with the other language pages. The problem being that the other language pages didn't have videos, and so it didn't migrate to the new format. So that's why probably in the last year, everything that you used to be able to find super easy became super complicated to find. And so we have a budget, and we've slowly been working. Well, we haven't been slow. we've been working fast and furiously, but the people who update the website, it's slow to get up there, but you should see, and I've already seen more tiles added to the ASL.LDS website, And so that's where we encourage members to go first, is to go to that website. That's what they are doing with all of the language pages, is encouraging to go to, whether it's French or Korean, is to, and in this case it would be asl.churchofjesuschrist.org. You have a question?
Kim, you're up. If all these videos are being updated, which is great, what about live events, pioneers.Church of Jesus Christ? The music wasn't interpreted, or excuse me, the music wasn't captioned. Can you speak to live events?
Yes, so live events, you were right. Because they don't all come out of our office, they get produced without anybody, without consultation with us. And so, unfortunately, in some situations, we have to go behind them and get them produced. So, what we're trying to do with the education piece and working with other departments is to get them to think about accessibility at the beginning instead of after something's done or after it's produced or after it's launched, because, yeah. So, thank you. Great question.
Big hearts, big hearts.
Oh, hey, I like that. We're also working with the handbook committee. So I know you all are probably aware of some of the handbook things that just don't make sense in regards to like interpretation and interpreters, all of that. So we have submitted and have been working with them to propose changes that would make it easier for an interpreter to come and stand on a stand, and some of the other small things that, depending on your local leader, how they interpret those things. So that is in progress, which is another exciting thing that we have been working on. Let's see. But to do all this, we need your help. So every time I go and talk to somebody, I go and talk to a leader, they always ask, so how many members does this affect? How many people need this thing? How many people need this accommodation? Every single time. And the church does not keep record of if you are deaf or not, or if you use ASL or not. There's just no record of that. So I can't like pull up something in the main database that says there are 50,000 deaf members in the US. There's no way to access that, which makes it difficult. But what I can do is I can say, well, this month we heard from this many members about this issue. And so that's why we think it needs to be fixed. One of the barriers we run into is that church material is translated in different languages based on geographic location. And as you all know, not all deaf people live in one geographic location. And so that's made it a little complicated, and we are trying to work with correlation in our weekly meetings to get that changed. But that is slow because it goes through a lot of approval processes. But so we need your feedback. It's super important that if you have a story or if you hear something, you can give it to us. Right now, we have email, Sorensen Relay. We're working on getting a video phone set up, and then seeing if we can get an interpreter come in a little bit at a time. Because I'm hearing Draper that I know a lot of you know. But if you have something you want to tell us, if you shoot me an email, and I'll put up my contact information. I will respond and we'll figure out a way to make it happen so we can get that information, that feedback from you. We also need good stories of good things that are happening that we can pass on to the magazines. I don't know if you've noticed in the past year, there's been a couple of stories highlighting on the cover there was a youth who was blind. There was another cover of a young woman who had a physical disability. But we don't get many stories from deaf members. So if you have good stories, we need them, and we can pass them on to the magazines directly. So that's something we need your help with. And here is my contact information. So the main box is the disability, but I put on there my personal contact information and Katie's personal contact information. So feel free to email us personally or into the deaf support box. But if there are a couple of questions, I apologize, I didn't leave a lot of time for questions. Yes.
Howie, I'm from New York, but I live here in Utah. We oftentimes have difficulty with conflict because bishops are branch presidents. We'll change the way that things are, they change. And so it seems like we're reinventing the wheel over and over again. We have to go through this entire training process over and over again. It would be great, and also some of those resources that they do have are old, that they pass on or out of date. It would be very helpful if there was some sort of continuity that we were able to pass on to leaders. Whether that's a video presentation or whether that's a printed presentation or something like that. I come from the Union Square branch in Manhattan. That's something that I do a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Howie. That's great. When I'm done with this, I'm going to write everything you guys say so then I can take it back. So thank you.
And I'm happy to spend time.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Over here? Over here. Yes, so that comes up quite a bit, and it is a whole long conversation, but we are working on that because that does come up. I get a lot of calls about that. So there is.
What is the current policy for that?
To find a volunteer to do it or a family member is kind of what the current policy is. What we're trying to do is let bishops know that they do have some other resources financially to help get interpreters into the building. So, yeah.
So is that someone we should be contacting? We're contacting this bishop or?
If it's a bishop in particular, you can contact him, let him know, or you can always give him my number and they can contact me, and then I'll talk to him. So thank you for bringing that up. And then over here. Yeah, no, that's great.
Is there any requirements or any thoughts about providing Mexican sign language or sign language in Spanish? Who knows? People that we focus mostly on sign language that's American or English speakers, but we also have Mexican speaking people. They don't necessarily sign Excel, so speaking. They might benefit from the Spanish caption. The Mexican variant of sign language. A friend who asked me that really frequently. Why is it in English? I'm wondering about the availability or possibility of providing things in LS and or the language of Mexico. Yes, all is in English. So possibly LS and possibly be or other sign languages could be a possibility that would be helpful for Walmart or countries who don't use regular sign language. Just something.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And like I said, I'm going to be taking all of this and bringing it back. So I think we have time for one more. And I don't know who was. Okay.
My name is Juan. I have to listen to them at the front. They're not quite as accurate as they should be or could be. But we'll watch and we'll see one line and then we'll see one line from another line. It's close. Is it usually?
Yes. So with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir or what's the broadcast Sunday mornings? Sounds of Sunday. Music in the thank you. On those, they're usually captioned ahead of time. What we run into is the cable provider. There's issues with the cable provider and their captioning. So you can contact us, and we do want to hear about that, and I pass that on to the music team. But also, if you continue to have those problems, contact your cable provider and let them know as well, or however you're watching it. Cable or internet. Okay, yeah. All right. And I will be here a little after we'll do the other 2 rotations, but I'll just be in the foyer, so if you have questions that you didn't get to bring up, come and track me down. So.